Canvas just finished building the model, and eventually it took 1 hour 27 minutes, so less than the expected 1 hour and 45 minutes. And that's because of the high quality training data we provided. And the first thing we can see is the high score this model has for providing a correct prediction for the eligibility. And that's again because of the high quality training data set we provided. We can also review the different columns and see how dominating they are in order to produce or impact on the predicted eligibility. And we can see who are the more dominating inputs and which are less, and so on. And more interesting, we can jump into the predict and start run prediction to test this model. So we can either use batch prediction and load the test data set, which I already did and we'll review it later, or we can jump into the single prediction and runs single prediction against this model. Now the single prediction will provide this nice user interface based on our data set. And we can see for now that we have this student applies for the spring, which has a grade of 10 in the grade of B in the 10 class, has a family income of $141,099, and has grade in 10 class of 10A. Now I can, for instance, change this to be C. This one is a high dominating input for impacting the eligibility, and I can click on the update, and we can see now that it turns to be no. So we can play with it and run some different provide different inputs and run the prediction and see and make sure that we are getting what we are expecting. On the other hand, I can jump into the batch prediction, and again I already loaded the test data set, so we can now open it for view and see what prediction it produced for the different rows in it. There's about 400 rows in this data set, test data set, and we can see the different values for each of the rows, and we can see the prediction generated for each of these rows and the probability for this prediction to be right and correct. So again, that's very nice, very friendly, and basically that is everything in regards to building the model using the Canvas. So our model is currently ready, and the only thing left is just to make sure to deploy it into an endpoint so it will be available for prediction. And for this, I'm going to jump back into the Amazon SageMaker landing page. And from the landing page, I'm going to open the inference section and jump into the endpoint configuration. And we can see that an endpoint configuration has already been created. It's been created by the Canvas itself, and we can drill into it. I'm not going to go into details, but the main thing about this endpoint configuration is that it just points into the model the Canvas just created. So now we need to create an endpoint. So I'm going to jump ahead into the endpoint section, and currently I do not have any endpoint. I'm going to click on create an endpoint, give it a name, college enrollment. That's correct. Okay, and I'm going to select the endpoint configuration Canvas just created, and that's basically it. There's some other options in here, but I'm going to keep and stick with the default. Just provide it with a name, college enrollment, select the endpoint configuration, and hit on the create endpoint. So now SageMaker will create this endpoint. We can see it's in status of creating. It's going to take SageMaker roughly about 5 minutes to create this endpoint. And once it's created, it will be in a status of in service, and it will be available for third-party system to start run and invoke inference against this model to get prediction in real time. So that's pretty much it for the building the model and deploying it using the Amazon SageMaker canvas. And we're gonna head into now part number 2, in which we are going to see how we can use the new AgilePoint SageMaker extender and add it into the college enrollment process, configure it to use this prediction and adapt during runtime the process accordingly.